When it comes to Shedeur, the Browns have purposefully tamped down the hype and mania. And some of that, I think, was in an effort to humble the kid. Because the reality is, a lot of people have written Shedeur off. And in concert, people have written off Dillon Gabriel. And those are all fair things to do today, or 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago. But if the Browns have written off either quarterback from starting week 1 today, if they've written them off as opposed to distance themselves from the idea, then they've already failed what is a very basic assignment. I think you're wrong. I think Shedeur is a better quarterback prospect than Dillon Gabriel. But in fairness, Quinn Ewers went in the 7th round, and I would have drafted him before I drafted Dillon Gabriel. There's less about Shedeur, and it's more about Dillon Gabriel. I don't think he's a starting NFL quarterback, and I understand the mantras or the ideas on how you handle quarterbacks in the middle round of the draft have changed.
Media outlets are now openly acknowledging Shedeur Sanders as a top-tier quarterback.
To not leave the door open for any of these guys, especially a guy in Shedeur, who if his name was Mike Sanderson, he probably would have been a 2nd-round pick. If he wasn't, and there's not putting it on Shedeur or Dion, putting it on all of it. The Shedeur camp and how they kind of handled the pre-draft process.
Breaking news that's sending shockwaves through Cleveland and beyond. Shedeur Sanders has finally earned the respect of the Cleveland media, completely shifting the narrative that once favored Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. But here's what's really wild about this story. For months, the same media personalities who are now praising Shedeur were the ones systematically tearing him down. They were firmly backing Gabriel and Pickett, painting Shedeur as nothing more than an overhyped coach's son riding on his father's coattails. Now the tables have completely turned, and some are even speculating that the previous media support for Gabriel and Pickett was part of a calculated strategic effort by the team hierarchy to control the narrative around Shedeur. Think about that for a second. What if everything we've been told about this quarterback competition was orchestrated from the beginning? The landscape is changing dramatically, and Shedeur's meteoric rise is now at the absolute center of the conversation. But what I'm about to reveal about how this transformation happened will shock you, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the haters are absolutely fuming right now. Let me paint you the full picture of just how dramatic this media transformation has been, because what's happening in Cleveland right now is unprecedented in modern sports journalism. We're talking about the same media outlets that spent months, literally months, questioning whether Shedeur Sanders even belonged in the NFL conversation. These were the same voices that suggested he was nothing more than a product of nepotism, riding his father's coattails into a draft position he didn't deserve. But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating, and this is something most people don't realize. Media outlets are now openly acknowledging Shedeur Sanders as a top-tier quarterback prospect, with some even ranking him higher than Dillon Gabriel. Think about the audacity of that statement for a moment. The same Dillon Gabriel they were championing just weeks ago as the clear frontrunner is now being positioned as secondary to the guy they were writing off. This marks a seismic shift because Cleveland's media landscape can no longer ignore what's happening right in front of their eyes. Shedeur's growing influence and undeniable talent are forcing even his harshest critics to eat their words publicly. And here's the kicker. Reports are now emerging that suggest the team's hierarchy may have been playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Sources close to the organization are indicating that the Browns may have intentionally tried to downplay Shedeur's aura and mystique, potentially positioning him as a 5th-round pick to lower the media buzz and control expectations around his arrival. If this is true, it means they were protecting their investment while allowing the media to create a false narrative that would ultimately work in their favor. But it doesn't end there, and this is where the story gets even more intriguing. The same media outlets that were once fueling the narrative against Shedeur's draft stock are now completely backpedaling. They're claiming that his fall in the draft wasn't due to his performance, his interviews, or any legitimate football concerns. Instead, they're now arguing that it was all because of his surname, because he's a Sanders. They're literally saying that if Shedeur had a different last name, completely free from the shadow of his famous father, Deion Sanders, he would have undoubtedly been drafted much higher. This new perspective is raising serious eyebrows throughout the football community, especially when you consider how quickly and dramatically these opinions are shifting. The question that's burning in everyone's mind right now is this: was Shedeur's draft position truly a reflection of his talent and ability, or was it influenced by external factors, media bias, and perhaps even organizational strategy all along? Because if it's the latter, then we're looking at one of the most masterful draft manipulations in recent NFL history, and Shedeur Sanders is about to prove that the joke was on everyone else the entire time. Now, let me tell you about the most stunning reversal in this entire saga, and it involves one of Cleveland's most respected and influential sports journalists. Mary Kay Cabot, who was once one of Shedeur Sanders' toughest and most vocal critics, has now completely flipped her stance in a way that's left the entire Cleveland sports media landscape absolutely stunned. We're talking about a journalist who built her reputation on being brutally honest and never backing down from her positions. Cabot was the one asking the hard questions about Shedeur's readiness, his ability to handle NFL-level pressure, and whether he truly deserved to be in the conversation with more experienced quarterbacks. She was skeptical, she was critical, and she wasn't afraid to voice those concerns publicly. But in a recent revelation that sent shockwaves through Cleveland sports media, Cabot shared something that changed everything. She reported that Shedeur has not only secured his place with the first-team reps, but he's actually surpassing Dillon Gabriel in training camp performance. Let that sink in for a moment. The same Dillon Gabriel that the media, including Cabot herself, had been positioning as the clear favorite. But here's what makes this even more remarkable. Cabot didn't just report this as a simple roster update. She went on to emphasize that Shedeur didn't just stumble into this spot or get it handed to him because of his name. She made it crystal clear that he truly deserves it, showcasing what she described as remarkable growth and skill that has been evident to anyone paying close attention to the team's practices. This marks what can only be described as a monumental shift in the narrative surrounding Shedeur Sanders. Cabot, known for her measured and careful reporting, is now highlighting his determination, resilience, and work ethic as the key factors driving his success. She's painting a picture of a young quarterback who has taken every criticism, every doubt, every question about his abilities and used them as fuel to elevate his game to another level. But Cabot didn't stop there, and this is where her transformation becomes even more significant. She went on to say that if Shedeur Sanders keeps progressing at this current pace and continues to show the kind of strong composure and leadership he's been displaying with the team, he's definitely going to have a real shot at securing a spot in the starting lineup. The momentum, according to Cabot, is clearly on his side. With every rep, every practice, every opportunity he gets, he's proving that he belongs not just on the roster but at the very top of the depth chart. The Browns organization is watching him closely, and Cabot believes this could be the beginning of something truly special for both Shedeur and the entire Cleveland Browns franchise. What makes this transformation so powerful is that it's coming from someone who had every reason to maintain her skeptical stance, but the evidence in front of her eyes was simply too overwhelming to ignore. Here's where the story gets absolutely fascinating from a pure football perspective, and why even the most stubborn critics are being forced to acknowledge what they're seeing. Mary Kay Cabot didn't just praise Shedeur's physical abilities or his work ethic. She went straight to the heart of what separates good quarterbacks from great ones: football intelligence. Cabot made a declaration that should have every Browns fan excited about the future. She stated that Shedeur's exceptional football IQ is off the charts and that it's only a matter of time before he hits the field and demonstrates that he can play fast and efficiently within Kevin Stefanski's complex offensive system. This isn't just coach speak or media fluff. This is a seasoned reporter who has covered countless quarterbacks recognizing something special. His understanding of the game is shining through in every single training session, every walkthrough, every film study session. Coaches and teammates are witnessing a young quarterback who doesn't just run plays. He understands the why behind every decision, every route concept, every protection scheme. With his continued development at this accelerated pace, it's becoming evident that he's ready for whatever challenges the NFL is going to throw at him. But here's the specific area where Shedeur is absolutely dominating, and it's something that veteran NFL observers know is crucial for quarterback success. Cabot highlighted his exceptional understanding of the pre-snap process, which is absolutely vital for any quarterback who wants to succeed at the professional level. We're talking about the ability to read defensive alignments, identify potential blitzes, recognize coverage rotations, and make the necessary adjustments before the ball is even snapped. This pre-snap mastery gives Shedeur a significant competitive edge that goes far beyond physical tools or arm strength. It showcases his impressive football intelligence and his ability to process information at the speed that the NFL demands. When you can diagnose what the defense is trying to do to you before they even do it, you're already 3 steps ahead of the game. If Shedeur can translate that pre-snap knowledge into seamless connections with his playmakers, guys like Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, and Cedric Tillman, he could very well be the key to unlocking the Browns' offensive potential and taking it to a completely different level. The potential is absolutely there, and all the pieces are falling into place at exactly the right time. On the flip side, and this comparison is crucial to understanding why the media narrative has shifted so dramatically, Cabot also weighed in on Dillon Gabriel's development. She noted that Gabriel doesn't quite measure up to Shedeur Sanders when it comes to understanding complex terminology and handling intricate play calls that are standard in Stefanski's offense. While Gabriel certainly has potential and brings his own skill set to the table, Shedeur stands out with his ability to quickly grasp and execute complicated plays that would typically take rookies months to master. Cabot emphasized that Shedeur's solid foundation, particularly when it comes to navigating through crowded pockets and making decisions under pressure, gives him a distinct advantage that's becoming impossible to ignore. This is where everything we've been building toward comes together, and why the haters are absolutely fuming about what's happening in Cleveland right now. Mary Kay Cabot dropped what can only be described as a bombshell that's reverberating not just through Cleveland, but across the entire NFL landscape. According to Cabot's latest reporting, Shedeur Sanders is no longer just a backup rookie learning the system and waiting for his opportunity. He has now emerged as a legitimate, serious contender for the starting quarterback position. Let me repeat that because it's so significant. We're talking about a 5th-round pick who was written off by most analysts, who is now in legitimate competition to start Week 1 for an NFL franchise. But here's the most significant development that proves this isn't just media speculation or off-season hype. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has given the official green light for Shedeur to begin participating in first-team reps, which are scheduled to kick off next month. This isn't a token gesture or a way to keep a young player motivated. This is a clear indication that the coaching staff sees something special and wants to evaluate it against the highest level of competition. This marks a major milestone in Shedeur's journey that goes far beyond what anyone could have predicted when he was drafted. It underscores his remarkable growth and his readiness to compete at the highest level of professional football. As the season approaches, all eyes will be on Shedeur as he works to solidify his role as the starting quarterback, and the competition for that spot is only intensifying. What makes this even more impressive is that Shedeur will be getting these opportunities against the first-team defense. We're not talking about going up against practice squad players or second-stringers. He'll be facing the same defensive unit that opposing offenses will see on Sundays. This is where quarterbacks either prove they belong or get exposed for their limitations. The media's narrative surrounding Shedeur Sanders has undergone what can only be described as a complete and remarkable transformation. Once viewed as a long shot who might not even make the final roster, Shedeur is now being recognized as a rising star and a legitimate contender for a starting spot in the NFL. Media personalities who were once skeptical or even openly critical of his potential are now calling for his rise to the starting position. They're acknowledging his impressive skill set, his football IQ, and his determination to succeed at the highest level. The Cleveland Browns organization continues to watch his development closely, and it's becoming crystal clear that Shedeur has earned every bit of the respect he's now receiving. From Mary Kay Cabot's dramatic shift in stance to reports highlighting his exceptional understanding of the game, the media is no longer focused on diminishing his prospects or questioning his legitimacy. Instead, They're amplifying his rise and recognizing what many are now calling an inevitable ascension to the starting role. This isn't just about overcoming skepticism. This is about a young man who has systematically dismantled every argument against him through pure performance and preparation. The rise of Shedeur Sanders isn't just a story of overcoming skepticism. It's a testament to his growth, work ethic, and undeniable talent that's forcing even his harshest critics to acknowledge what they're witnessing. What started as a media narrative designed to diminish his prospects has completely backfired, and now those same voices are scrambling to get on the right side of history. So what do you think about this dramatic shift in the media's perspective on Shedeur Sanders? Do you believe this transformation is genuine, or are these media personalities just trying to save face? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe because this story is far from over, and you won't want to miss what happens next in Shedeur's journey to the starting lineup.